Okay, still trying to get used to like this live thing on both Facebook and Instagram. Try to synchronize both sides. Hello everyone, happy Saturday. So, welcome to another episode of the Eat to Focus live Q&A. So today I don't have any specific topics. I just kind of went through some questions inside the Facebook group and pick out a few questions that are all kind of related to medication. So I think we're going to talk about focus a little bit more on the medication part of the ADHD. I know this is I know most of you following is trying to avoid medication, but sometimes if you have to be on it, then you just have to, and we'll just learn to deal with it. Okay? And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anatai. I'm a registered dietitian, also a board certified specialist in pediatric nutrition. So I'm also the author of the bestseller book Eat to Focus, and I'm here every Saturday talking about different topics related to natural alternative ADHD treatment. So if you have any question, comment below or message me privately if that's what you want. And currently I'm taking new patients or new clients to be in my group, in my very intimate small group that is supposed to help with helping you, especially parents dealing with a child with ADHD and how to take care of themselves, because having a kid with special needs is really, really challenging. But learning from other parents and learning from someone with experience really help a lot, because a lot of times you just felt so alone, and that's exactly how I felt when like over 10 years ago I kind of started noticing some ADHD tendency in my daughter, and I pretty much figured this whole thing out by myself. So, but I felt that because we have such a huge supportive community, I think we can create something even better. The Facebook group is wonderful, but what I felt like a lot of times is some people not being heard, and there's also a lot of wrong information out there. So I want to create this small intimate group that everyone can interact, no one is being left out. So if you're interested, you can message me privately to apply for a spot in the group. I'm limiting the group to only 10 people, so it'll be a very intimate group and you can make some really good friends in it. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Hi. So I'm live on both Instagram and Facebook page. So well, some of you might be watching a replay. So this morning before I came on this, I kind of went on the Facebook group and searched for a few questions. I'm so sorry, I'm just so busy lately, I can't answer every question in there, but I tried my best. But if you really have something that you want me to answer, then go ahead and put it in the comment, or you can DM me later, or you can even schedule a free consultation with me. You can go to I think in Instagram it's in my bio link. In Facebook, you probably have to go to the page itself to find my link. So anyway, let's get started. I'm having trouble with Facebook lately, but that's another story. Okay, so this is question, and of course I'm not going to read the name and everything, but I'll just kind of read some of the things. So my son is 8 and on Ritalin. The question is, what natural thing can I give him in the afternoon when his medication kick out? So I guess means the medication wears off. And he starts soccer next week, and when his meds kicked out, he can get mean, not listening, and I believe have a touch of bipolar. 1 minute he can be lovable, all nice, next he's chewing your head off over something stupid. Okay, I'll answer this in different ways. So first of all, with the medication, if the medication is working, and she did mention Ritalin. So Ritalin and a lot of the ADHD medications are ones that actually raise your dopamine level. So it's kind of like when you're taking the medication is kind of doing the job for you, right? So the medication raised your dopamine level, and then when you're off the medication, sometimes we see that the kids or even the adult taking a medication, they become a little bit more aggressive or the mood is off, is because the the job of the medication is not there. Because with a lot of the ADHD medication, they have a very short lifespan. Most of it, you take it in the morning, it peaks around noon, and then by the time afternoon, late evening, it wears off on itself. And then you start noticing your kids start acting more out of control, is because the medication is not there. So there are different things you can do. Definitely, I would first look at the diet first, and also making that sure that your child is well fed, because a lot of times on with ADHD medications, specifically any type of the Concerta, Ritalin, the stimulant ones, they tend to suppress the appetite. So most of the kids, they will take the medication with breakfast around 7, 8 o'clock. They take the medication, so they can still eat a pretty good breakfast if they have the appetite. Then when it comes to noontime or during school, most of the time they're not hungry at all. So they'll come home hungry, and then that could be a reason why they're acting out too, because they're hungry and there's no resources in the body. Because one of the things that most people don't realize is they're told that, oh yeah, the medication is going to help with the dopamine, but they just think that dopamine is this like magical dust that your body makes. But people don't really look deeper where the dopamine originally come from, right? Dopamine, just like any other brain chemicals, they're like a protein molecules. So if we know that it is a protein molecules, that means that it has to come from the food that we eat. So if your child eat like a junky breakfast in the morning, which I see a lot of the kids tends to eat like a huge bowl of sugary cereals with no protein at breakfast, then they go to school, they're on the medication, they're not eating the whole time they're at school, like whole 6 hours. Then they come home, the medication wears off, so that means that the dopamine level going back to normal, but it might be not even at a normal level, it might be in a negative, because they haven't have any protein the whole day and then come home hungry. So when they're hungry, there's no energy, and then no brain chemicals in the brain, so they're basically operating on empty. And the thing is, the way the brain works is kind of like your smartphone, right? Your smartphone works the best when the battery is fully charged. But when your phone battery life is down to like the low energy or the low, you know how like when your phone is at 20%, it shows you a message that, oh, we're going to operate at the low power mode, right? And then the phone kind of shut down certain processing or certain function is not as efficient. So the brain is the same. If you look at how the human brain works, like by default, the human brain always go on the negative stuff, right? So when the brain have no resources, no energy, the brain chemicals are not there, it just goes on the default, which is like kind of like a wild animal, like there's no control. In order to have control, we have to have certain brain chemicals like the dopamine, serotonin, and what's the other thing? And GABA, not gabapentin, GABA. Those calming brain chemicals. And in order for those calming brain chemicals to be there, we need to have the resources. Like our factory have to have power and have resources, which is the protein from the food to make those. So to answer this question, something that we can do to help is, one, a lot of times with my patient who comes to see me for failure to thrive because of the medication, because they stop eating at school, I usually have parents just switch the snack and the lunch around. So at school, they usually have like 15-20 minutes. That's what they have in Hawaii. I don't know on the mainland. So kids don't usually have a lot of times to eat. And if you know your kids well, usually they prefer to play or they just talk the whole time. So I will tell parents, just pack them something that is high protein, a protein snack with them to send them to school with. Tell them just eat whatever they can, because usually when they're eating with the kids, sitting around with other kids, they might feel like a little bit peer pressure to eat, but sometimes absolutely they will have no appetite at all. I'll be like, you know what, that's just fine. But when they come home from school, instead of giving them a snack And like nowadays when people talk about snack, think about snack, it's always something highly processed, sugary stuff like cookies, crackers, cereal, chips, and things like that. So you're not going to give your child that. It's just going to make things worse. What you're going to do is feed him a actual lunch. So something that have decent amount of protein, or something that you can make at home or leftover from the night before, because you're going to refuel your child now. Because usually after school the medication wears off a little bit, the appetite will come back. So you want to take advantage of that hunger to start. And sometimes your child might tell you, oh, I'm not hungry. You just have to talk them into eating it, because the thing is, when the appetite is suppressed, they just don't feel hungry anymore. But that doesn't mean that their body doesn't need the food. You just have to say, hey, you're going to soccer practice, so let's eat something, so that way you can run faster. Because you need to give them motivation to eat. But if you just keep telling them, oh, you need to eat, this is good for your brain, good, this is healthy for you, they're not going to eat for those reasons. But with little kids, I always try to find the interest. If they play sports, I'll ask them, oh, so are you one of the fastest one? And they'll sometimes smile like, oh no, there's this other kid who's faster than me. Usually kids with ADHD, from my experience, they tend to be very good in sports, because I think they have all this extra energy. So I'll try to use that as an interest to say, hey, if you eat really well, like your muscle needs energy and all this stuff. So I'll talk to the kids and then explain to them why they need to eat. And usually after the session, they'll be like, you can see the shine through the eyes, the light behind the eyes just light up, like, oh my god, like I need to eat. And then they'll start talking to their parents like, okay, I want to eat this and eat that. And I usually give them like a high calorie booster handout, so they'll take home with that. And I usually tell parents, go through the list with your child, have them circle things that they like, so that way you are more successful, right? Because your child is there. You can just ask them what they like, rather than you trying to guess what's going to work and whatnot, because they'll tell you. You just need to give them a reason to eat. And especially like in this person's case, they're asking about playing soccer. So that will be something that I always recommend is, if your child, especially someone who's struggling with like losing weight on ADHD medication, I always encourage them that they have to have a snack before they start the practice. And try not to have the snack 30 minutes, but 30 minutes out. So if practice starts at 4 o'clock, you should have a snack around 3 p.m. And that snack should be a mixture of protein and carbohydrate, not any of those highly processed snacks that is all carbs. You get a burst of energy and then you crash. It needs to be a high protein snack. So you could do things like beef jerky, Greek yogurt, full fat Greek yogurt, handful of nuts, some kind of almond butter, sunflower seed butter. I would avoid those junky peanut butter. And what else? Boiled eggs, or even leftover meals from the night before. So you gotta have about 30 minutes for the body to process all that energy, because when you eat right before you go on a practice, your body is trying to move your arms and legs and using energy for your muscle, but at the same time you're trying to process the food. So one will have to give in. So don't do it right before. Do it 30 minutes before. And then after your practice, or if the practice is really long, which I see sometimes in teenagers, they have 2 hours long practice, I'll tell them, okay, if you have a practice that long, you need to eat something, put something in your body every 45 to 60 minutes. So if they usually have like a water break, so I'll tell them, get some like fruit, slices of fruit, tangerine, oranges, the little tiny cuties. So when your coach lets you have a sip of water, put like a piece of apple in your mouth, or a couple of tangerine oranges in your mouth, some kind of something small that will give you like a little bit of energy to replenish what you just used up from all the repetitive practice. And then after the practice, again, it's very important is that you gotta eat another protein snack. So if after practice it's time for dinner, then just go home and have a good dinner. If not, And usually with kids with ADHD, dinner is usually the best meal because the appetite actually comes back. So bank on that special time that the appetite is good and give them high quality protein. So not things like chicken nuggets or hot dogs or any of those processed protein. You want them to have real food. And I think some of you might be like, oh my god, my kid's not gonna eat that. Okay, trust me, when your kids is hungry, even you know that when you're hungry, you're more likely to eat things that you normally don't like. So when your kids is hungry, that's the best time to give them things that are healthier. So make sure the snack or the meal that they eat after the practice is a protein rich food, because over practice you're using a lot of resources, you're using energy, and especially for kids with ADHD, when they have to try focus and listen, they're using a lot of brain chemicals and brain resources. So make sure that you give them something high protein and high fat to replenish what is being used during the practice. And that's how you build even better, stronger muscle memory. And then I think the other part of the question she mentioned about bipolar stuff, I just want to comment on that because it was so funny. Like, not funny because of you, funny because I have the same experience. My daughter, like, when she was a teenager, it was like the worst. I always joked that when she was a teenager, I was like, I think she had bipolar. Like, one minute she's super nice, like, oh, mommy, I love you. And then another minute she just like turned into a devil, evil child. So I was like, most of her teenage years, I felt like I walk on eggshell the whole time. But I don't stop loving her. I still love her the same. I just have to understand that that's part of either the hormone with during teenagers, and then plus like the brain chemicals, and then of course the other part is just being a teenager. Not so much the hormone, but teenagers try to figure out who they are, right? Try to exercise that, right? So you just have to understand that. And like, yeah, the bipolar part is hard. Like, you just have to learn to deal with it, and just let them know that you're there for them and you still love them for who they are. Because like in this case, like kids with ADHD, a lot of times all that lashing out, those emotional dysregulation is not something that they do intentionally. It's not like they wake up like switch one minute like, oh, I'm gonna make mommy's life hell, so let me just be a mean little prick today, right? It's not. They, a lot of times it's just because they don't have the brain chemicals to regulate the emotions, or the maturity to regulate the emotions. So it just happens just like that. So you need, as a parent, you need to understand that that's how it is. And if you find yourself being triggered by these kind of behavior, then you need to ask yourself why you're getting triggered, because you probably have some kind of experience in your past that have caused you to have that feeling of being triggered. But again, it's part of being a parent to a child with ADHD is really understanding your child. Like, there's a lot of things out there to read, a lot of free information, but it's like you still have to work with your child and see what works and what not. And working with like a professional who understands you, where you're coming from, helps significantly, because you trying to figure out on your own with no previous experience, no experience from an experienced professional is really tough, because everything seems to be strange and wrong. So yeah, so I definitely have the same experience with my daughter. So we survived, like we didn't kill each other, so that's a good thing. And now she turns out to be a wonderful, perfect adult. She's gonna be 22 years old now. Like, even though I don't know if I put out, even though every time when I call her, you know how when you call someone on the phone and then a picture show up from that person, my picture is still the picture of an evil mom. Okay, like evil, like all black with like fire eyes. That picture still show up on her phone when I call. But you know what? She have so much more respect to me. Like, now I sent her away to college. Actually, she asked for it. She's in Chicago, living on her own. Well, kind of. Yeah, now when I talk to her, she's super polite. Say, thank you, mom. I love you, mommy, and all those things. So, yeah, it's just it's just a journey that you both have to go through together. But you need to continue to show her that you're there for her and you still love her no matter what she said. Because when they said those mean things to you and upsetting to you, they feel as bad just as much as you feel bad, okay? But you need to understand that they did not intend to hurt you, okay? So that's my little 2 cents for you. And yeah, so basically, just to summarize the whole thing is something to help is changing the what they're eating after school, and also doing things. So you're talking about the soccer practice, so which is great. Any kind of sports will help boost dopamine level. And um, and I just want to put one more thing out there about soccer, because my daughter started out soccer, which is a team sports, and it didn't work out because she'll just let all the kids all chasing the ball and she stand behind and watch, because she's like, why five kids have to chase after one ball? There's only one ball and there's five kids. I'll just wait for them to bring the ball to me. So soccer didn't last too long for us, and then we switched to tennis, which is a lot better because it's more of a single person sports, and even though sometimes she play double, it still works better than tennis. And also we also play golf as well. Golf is another good sports for kids with ADHD, because if you look at tennis and golf, like these are sports that you cannot just go out and play. You actually have to take lesson to learn specific skills in order to be good and have fun playing. So kids with ADHD tends to do a lot better in sports that require specific skills, because it is almost like that extra skills that require of them makes the brain like pull everything together to focus. Like, okay, when I hit the ball, I have to turn my body a certain way and move my hand a certain way. So it makes them focus and force them to actually focus and do it. But like in some other type of sports, like from my experience in soccer, is like they just, like my daughter just like, what's the point of doing this? And I think it might be too easy, because for some of you might have noticed your kids who have ADHD is super smart. A lot of the things that they teach in school is not challenging enough for them, so they might look like they're daydreaming in school. And that's what happened with my daughter when she was in public school. She'll come home drawing on her legs and everything because it was just too easy for her. So then when the teacher look at it, it's like, oh yeah, your daughter's not focusing, they're not paying attention in school. It's not because they're not interested or not focusing, it's because what they teach in school is just too easy for them. And for some of you on the mainland, you might not know, Hawaii's education system really suck. Like the education level, like I work in a military hospital, so I see patients from all over the country, and kids on the mainland, like when they come to Hawaii and go to the same grade level, they'll be learning like 2 levels behind stuff. So that's why like I put my daughter in a private school when she was, I think, last year of elementary school. So yes, a lot of people might think, oh, why you spend so much money to put your kids in private school? Because I was like, she's not learning anything. Okay, so that's my little blurb and some little tipper from my own experience to you. Okay, let's find the next question. Okay, so does anyone use Mary Ruth's vitamin and supplements? My ADHD daughter currently take their multivitamin immunity gummies, zinc, elderberry, and vitamin C, probiotics, and D3 plus B12. Perfect. So these are all very good supplements to take to start with. I order and have not received the magnesium omegas for her. I also have, but I haven't used the Kids Focus and Attention Herbal Drops. Sometimes I wonder if they're working or not. I like the company and the philosophy, but I'm not totally sure on the quality yet. I'm wondering if the money could be spent on better brands. Thoughts? Yes, definitely. Like, I like Mary Ruth's company philosophy and everything too, but I'm not a big fan of the product because I have reviewed a lot of their products, and they're actually very low dose. Um, Let me think. So, um, I might have a few items. Like if you go to my Amazon shopping list, you'll find in my bio link, I might have one item from Mary Ruth, which is a liquid zinc supplement. That's probably the only thing I'll use from that. Because the thing is, um, when I recommend someone on supplements, I don't do the bare minimum. A lot of times I see people posting things like, oh, why are you recommending that? That's going to cause toxicity, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I am a registered dietitian, and I am also a pediatric dietitian who specializes in children with special needs and very rare genetic disorder. So if anyone who you can trust, I think is me. I'm not like tuning my own horn, but I work with kids who are with special needs, and I actually need to go back to the biochemistry book and look at the pathway that is broken in their body. So I know how all this biochemistry thing works, even though I don't have a biochemistry degree, but I know of those stuff, how it works. And from my own experience working with these kids with special needs and rare genetic disorder, we use super, super high level of supplements. Things that are so high level that you actually need a doctor prescription to get, or the pharmacy to specially compound. We use that. So I have a lot of experience working with supplements, high doses, at like crazy high doses. Trust me. And like when people talk about like, oh yeah, the DRI or daily recommended intake, first of all, let's just clarify that. The daily recommended intake, or whatever the FDA or whoever put those out, that level is to prevent deficiency. It's the bare minimum that the human body needs just so you don't get deficient. So that means that even if you do 2-3 times of that, you're still good. Because if you're taking a multivitamin that gives you 100% of the vitamin C, but you're still eating food in your diet that has vitamin C, you're over that DRI anyway, but you're not overdosing. So just have some baseline knowledge over there. So when I recommend something, like on the blog or on Instagram or on social media, when I recommend something, these are usually very safe level, because I know I'm talking to public. I don't know you guys, okay? So those are very safe level. But if you're actually my patient or my client, and I actually look at your labs and do everything, I can actually adjust the dose even more for you. But whatever I recommend out there is the very safe dose that we use on patient every day. Even the zinc, I think someone mentioned about, like, why are you recommending zinc? Like blah 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 blah, it's going to cause toxicity. I recommend zinc to my patient every day at like 100 times more than what I recommend here every day, but it's for a very specific purpose. So like I said, like if anything, things that I recommend here is actually pretty safe. It's from my experience of like my unique background with my type of patient that I work with. So yeah. So when I look at the Mary Ruth's brand, a lot of their supplements is not enough, and I actually call that the sprinkle effect. So sometimes people will come to me like, oh yeah, I tried this, tried that, it doesn't seem to work. And I was like, what dose are you taking? They're like, oh, whatever bottle says. I was like, yeah, when you get a sprinkle of something, you just get a sprinkle of effect. So that's why a lot of times parents try different things and nothing seems to work, is because they're using the wrong dose. And usually the wrong dose means it's not enough. So like so again, from this question, these are all very good supplements. These are usually the ones that I recommend first to someone who's starting this whole natural alternative ADHD treatment journey. But then the second thing is you need to make sure that you're getting the right dose. So if you want to learn more, you can get my book, Eat to Focus. I'll put a link in. I need to start reminding myself to do that. Inside my book, I show you step by step how to change your adjust your diet and what supplements to start and what's the dose to start as well. So it's all inside the book. So get my book, and if you want to find out more, I'm not going to go over the dose here. And the other thing also, like anytime there's like a supplement that talks about focus or calm and stuff, I always like to look at the combination that they use. So sometimes you can have combination effects, but sometimes I felt like they just put a bunch of vitamins in there and just say and slap the word focus on the bottle, and people will buy it. The thing is, people don't read the nutrition label because it's confusing, but I read it because I know what it is. So that's why like I go through all the time and effort to come up with a list of all the supplements that I recommend. So I actually have so if you're my patient, I will have given you my shopping list to the Amazon, but I actually recently created a protocol for ADHD and for focus, so it's in the full script. So I'll post that. Let me write that down of things that I need to post later. So the full script protocol, I will post it later, and on Instagram I'll put it in my IG link, so you can use that link to go there for. And then I think I can put it in because IG is different, and on Facebook I'll put it in my comment later. So I'll put that in so you can look through that and get the vitamins combination that actually works in the right dose. So yeah, basically in order for vitamins or supplements to work for ADHD is you need to get the right ones and the right dose. So that's why a lot of parents trying all this different random stuff, and I see that a lot of people they're spammers in my group, which I try to avoid, is people selling like random shit on inside the group, like the NRF to please don't buy into that. Or if someone try and DM you with like, hey, I have this product that's really good, just don't reply, okay? What else? Let me see. Yeah, so again, Mary Ruth is a really wonderful brand, but when we're looking at actually trying to use supplements to help with certain condition, we need to get the right dose. So again, get my book. You'll find all that information in there. I have pretty much recommendation of doses for all of those medication inside my book. Okay, let's move on to the next question. How's the time here? Okay, let me catch my breath a little bit. Okay, have someone have their child on stimulant ADHD medicine and decided to stop all meds because it was stunting their growth. My son dropped from the 40th percentile to the 5th percentile in height and weight. Did all the labs with the endocrinologist and was told to take off medication to see if we can gain some height. Is definitely a struggle because he has severe ADHD and needs medication, but was told with a bone scan that if I didn't take him off meds, he would likely be 5'3". My husband is 5'9" and I'm 5'1", so I don't expect him to be huge, but when he was studied in the 40th percentile, he was predicted to be 5'7", 5'8". Okay. I can totally answer this question because I see this kind of situation all the time. So with the bone scan, so if the endocrinologist recommend that he be taken off the medication based on the bone scan results, then most likely what he see is that a delayed bone growth. So what that means is once he's off the medication and once he get all the food and the nutrients that he needs, he's going to catch up growth just like that right away. So what he sees is that it is not a growth hormone deficiency, but it's a delayed growth. So that means that he's showing, how old is the child now? Okay, I guess there's no age. So yeah, so what that means is really the bone growth is showing that the bone growth is delayed, not because of a deficiency in growth hormone, but the deficiency in nutrients. So that's why sometimes I love having the bone growth, especially when I see a child who is going flat on weight and flat on height. So when we look at growth chart, we look at three things. We look at the weight, the height, and if your child is young, like a young baby or toddler, we look at the head circumference as well. So weight, height, and head circumference. So when it comes to nutritional deficiency or when someone stops growing, usually we start seeing the weight chart to flat out first, then the height chart flat out, then the head circumference flat out. So usually if I see a patient that the brain or the head circumference is good, the height is growing accordingly, staying in the same percentile, but the weight is flat, that usually means that it is a calorie or nutritional deficiency. That means that the child is eating all the right food, but just not enough. But if I see the weight is flat and the height is flat too, that usually means that the child's not eating enough overall food and also poor quality of food. Because as adult, we all know if we eat a lot for a couple of days, we gain weight really fast, right? So weight is always easy to gain just by eating more food. But on the other hand, growing taller requires a lot more resources because your bone have to actually stretch longer. That means that you need to have the right bone material. So when the height is flat too, it usually means that overall diet quality is being compromised as well. And then the third one, when we start seeing in the very young kids, once they're still measuring the brain, the head circumference, when we see the head circumference to drop as well, definitely that would definitely means a long-term malnutrition, poor overall calories intake, poor overall quality nutrition intake. But what your doctor did is perfect. He sent you to the endocrinologist, and the endocrinologist did the bone scan. Those are all very proper things to do. And okay, so that's kind of my take from that. So the other question is, do you take your child off the medication? It's all up to you. So it's all up to you whether you want to take your child off the medication completely, or the other option is you work with a child psychiatrist who knows ADHD medication the best, and have worked with that person to find a medication that costs less appetite suppressant. Because usually with ADHD medication, the reason why it's stunt growth a lot of times came from the appetite suppressing side effects of the medication. There is a few that can actually suppress the growth, but that is not as much as the appetite suppressing part. So you might actually want to work with a child psychiatrist who specializes with kids with ADHD and who knows those medication the best. And also there are different type of medication that can work. For ADHD, there's the stimulant, and stimulant tends to be the one that causes the most side effects, like appetite suppressant and stunt growth, sleep problems, and all those things. And then there's also the non-stimulant ADHD medication as well. I'm not a pharmacist, so I'm not going to go too much details into those. I can only speak from my own experience working with patients on all this type of different medication. So that's one option, is to change medication to find something that works, or you can even decrease the dose of the medication that you're using on to see if it helps. And then just one more thing is that you can also talk with your psychiatrist or whoever prescribed medication to do medication holidays. And we do that a lot of times with kids who are experiencing a lot of side effects. Is we either on the days that they have no school, just don't give the medication on those days, or during summer when they're not in school, they don't need to focus, they don't need to give medication. Or you can do a lower dose. If your child have very severe ADHD, maybe you can do a lower dose, but work with your doctor who prescribed the medication. And like I said, the best person to work with is a child psychiatrist who are familiar with this medication and familiar with kids with ADHD. And then, of course, the other thing I would recommend is working on the diet, making sure that the child have enough food to eat. Because the thing is, even though your endocrinologist recommends to stop the medication, like that's why I'm a pediatric dietitian actually in the pediatric clinic. So I work directly with the pediatrician, and in our clinic, part of our clinic is all the pediatric subspecialists. So I also work very closely with the endocrinologist, cardiologist, nephrologist, pulmonologist, gastroenterologist. So I work very close with them. So you can also ask to be referred to a pediatric dietitian in your hospital or in your network who can help you with adjusting the food that your child is eating. Because your child might be a super picky eater or maybe not eating a very, very huge amount. So the pediatric dietitian can actually work with you to give you suggestion on how to bump up the nutritional intake of your child. And in that case, if you're my patient, I would give you suggestions on how to maximize the calorie intake with the little bit of food. Hi, someone from Hawaii. Yeah, I will give you a recommendation of things to how to boost the calories and protein in your child's current diet. And I will also recommend a nutritional supplement to take in addition to what he's eating. So usually in the hospital, we tend to give like Pediasure, but I'm not a big fan of it because of all the sugar in it. I actually prefer more of the K Farms. So insurance company, depending on your insurance company, it hi, thank you very much. So some insurance actually cover for this, and I've written a lot of orders for insurance company to cover for things like Pediasure, K Farms, and things like that. And based on what I read so far, your child probably have a diagnosis of failure to thrive. So you can talk to your doctor. And like I said, first thing I would say, ask for a referral to the pediatric dietitian who is good with working with children. Like people don't realize that they think all dietitians are the same. They're not. Like if you come to me, oh, thank you. Like if they come to me, I see things that adult dietitian do not see. And like I said, I work with children with special needs, so I know how to go through the insurance process and everything, and I write orders for supplements every day. So like in your case, that's what something I'll recommend is get a dietitian referral to a pediatric dietitian. And you probably will start something like K-Farm is one of the supplements that I love. And you can actually go online to ask for samples, to request samples. Your doctors, your endocrinologist, your dietitian can actually go on K Farm's website and request samples for you. So you can try the sample out. If you loved it, ask one of your doctor or your dietitian to put in a referral into the insurance, because with a failure to thrive diagnosis, you are most likely, well, again, depending on your insurance, the insurance can cover for that K Farms. So that will be my recommendation. Like I said, I do that all the time, but I'm mostly familiar with TRICARE because I work with in the military hospital. So you can call up your insurance and ask if those kind of things is covered. But like I said, with a diagnosis of failure to thrive, most of the time it is diagnosed. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see if let's answer one more question. Okay, yeah, let's answer one last question. Okay, my son just got diagnosed with combined ADHD and ADD. Doctor wants to start him on Quellifent, Concerta. Okay, like I said, I'm not a pharmacist, so I'm not familiar with all the ADHD medication. I just know the ones that comes through my patient, but I usually look it up anyway. Teacher says he sees no issues academically, but behaviorally for sure. Meltdowns and anger issue. Anyone else being in similar situation? What was helpful? Okay, I am trying to interpret what she meant by the behavioral issue. Was the behavioral issue before medication or was it after the medication? Because if the meltdown and anger issue was worse after starting that medication, chances is that that's the wrong medication for your child. So what you should do is actually go back to your doctor who prescribed that medication and ask for a different one. And again, because I myself is a specialist, I know how different when it comes to seeing a general practitioner and a specialist. Even like a lot of times I see some of my patients who have special needs and they're seeing a family practice doctor. I always tell them switch to a pediatrician. Pediatricians see kids every day, so they see things that a family practice doctors do not see. Especially if you have a child who have special needs, it's way better that you see a pediatrician, because when something comes up, they know, because from the experience they saw, oh yeah, I've seen that rash before, I know what it is. Okay, like I've seen one time my patient came in my office and he's wearing shorts. Everyone wears shorts in Hawaii, come on now. So he have these things on his leg that looks like someone bite him, like bite teeth, and it looks kind of round, right? So I kind of asked, oh, did something bite you or something? And then the dad was like, oh no, that's eczema. I was like, I don't think that's eczema, that's ringworm. So but yeah, you need to find specialists who knows what they're talking about. And especially in my case, because I'm a pediatric dietitian, and kids is all I see all the time. Like even in my hospital, the other adult dietitian freaks out if they have to see one of my patients, because they're like, I don't know anything about kids. So yeah, you need to find people who know the issue that your child is experiencing. So like I said, in here, if your child's put on the medication, they get better academically, but the mood is off, just find another medication. There's tons of medication out there. And again, I'm not trying to advocate medication, but if it's something your child needs, then go for it. And think of medication as crutches. It's just a crutches that you're gonna use, kind of like when you broke your leg, you're gonna use crutches for like a month or two so that way you don't use the broken leg and give that broken leg time to heal, right? So it's the same. Medication, if you need medication, don't feel ashamed of it. You can start it, you can always stop it later. So if your child needs medication, let them be on the medication so they can function at school. And then you work on the natural alternative options to help maximize. Because the thing is that, actually I was going to put a post on this because I thought this is kind of like ridiculous. So like all these years as a dietitian, we've been trained that, oh yeah, if patient is on certain medication, they cannot eat certain food because this food is going to make the medication works way more efficient. Then I was like, now I think about it, right? Because this is how society brainwash us. Like I said, that's what we're taught in school, is that, okay, if the patient is taking certain medication, we cannot give them grapefruit or grapefruit juice because the grapefruit or grapefruit juice is going to make that medication work even better. So then I was like, now I start thinking more like, okay, if grapefruit juice or grapefruit makes the medication works better, shouldn't we tell the patient to actually eat grapefruit and grapefruit juice so that way they can use less medication, right? Because there's no side effects to grapefruit, but there are tons of side effects with the medication. So I think as a society, and actually as not as a society in general, as a medical community and society as general, we're brainwashed by pharmaceutical company to just give more drugs. Even though we know that when we give the drugs with certain food, it makes the drugs work better, instead of telling a patient to take less drugs and eat more of the food to make the drug work better, we do the opposite. Tell them, oh, don't eat grapefruit because it's going to make the drug work harder. But I think we should start thinking and asking better questions like, okay, if this food is going to make my medication works better, why do I still need that high dose medication? I should eat more of this food, and then that means I can take less of the medication and less of the side effects. And that's the same purpose behind this whole Eat to Focus that I put together, is that if we can improve the diet, and the nutritional status of our children and our body, then even though you might need medication, you might actually need a lot less of it. And that means you have less side effects as well. So that's something that I'm going to leave you here with. So yeah, my recommendation for this person is really going back to your doctor and tell them that, hey, this medication is not working. Can we try something else? So just knowing that there are many other different types of ADHD medication out there, you just need to find the right provider to give you the right guidance and the patience to work with you. And also, of course, you're on my world here, my Eat to Focus world, alternative world, then you gotta work on the nutrition part and the lifestyle, and then there are supplements also to supplement to make the brain chemicals work better as well. So all right, so I'm gonna leave you all here with a good note. So have an amazing, wonderful day. And again, I'm taking new client in the intimate group, limiting to only 10 parents who wants to be in this support, tiny little intimate supportive environment to help each other out and learn our kids to deal better with our kids. Okay, all right, thank you so much everyone who show up here or who's watching the replay. All right, have an amazing day, and I'll see you all next week. Okay, bye.